Welcome everyone at the Carbonless Asia Forum. My name is Tony Burb, co-founder of Carbonless Asia and one of your hosts today.
Good afternoon everyone, welcome. Thanks for being with us today. It is, as Tony said, the inaugural event in this Carbonless Asia Forum, and hopefully it will be an ongoing situation where we can begin to gather around and discuss and exchange ideas, have conversations, and motivate each other to take action to make for a net zero future here in Asia.
And welcome from my side to the first Carbonless Asia Unconference. Rules of the road. Our talented speakers are going to get 3 minutes and 3 minutes only to spark some conversation. Anyone who raises their hand or raises a question will be invited on stage and get 2 minutes and 2 minutes only to have a contribution. And it's going to be a bit like a ping pong ball.
Thank you, Rachel. And very good to be here with all 73 of you. When solar and wind are available much of the year in all locations at a marginal cost of pretty zero, as I said, you're going to engineer a disruption similar to the digital disruption of information technology. That's going to create all sorts of new business models that are all really focused on electrification. And these business models, I don't see many around me at all, are going to be the most exciting feature probably of the next 20 years, i.e. business models with all that free, super abundant energy. And to go back to carbon tech, Rachel, I think carbon tech is super exciting for that reason. We are talking about business models that most of us haven't yet completely conceived yet, and an area where the number of startups continue to be incredibly low if you compare it to information technology startup, but not if you compare it to information technology startups 20 years ago.
I am representing a bank that has its roots in agriculture. It was formed by farmers more than 100 years ago. And climate change is probably impacting farmers most of all. Agricultural land use and forestry account for 20% of CO2 emissions. And given the growth of the population foreseen in 2050, we have to produce 50% more food, but with about 1/3 of CO2 emissions. That means that we will have to go through a huge transformational change in producing our food.
I think that companies really need to think of this as something that they need to action now. You know, the decarbonization story is not really a technology problem rather than an economics problem. And the economics is really catching up on us. So if you don't act now, it's going to cost you a lot later.
It was great that the opening panel said something about agriculture and nature-based solutions, because it's, you know, this is one of the things that many people don't get. About 1/3 of all our emissions are land use and agriculture related. And if we don't get a grip on those, we're never going to feed the world in a sustainable way.
So I think there is definitely a role to play for banks to select in their customer base what are the front runners in terms of ecological footprint and who are the laggards. And most banks actually do that already. It is still in an infancy stage, I would say, but I think more and more banks are developing more green instrument to benefit the front runners compared to the middle of the road industry players.
And I'd like to give you a virtual clap and pass the mic over to Taimur for the policy panel. Look forward to seeing you at the break.
So let's crack on into part two when we're talking about policy.
Agriculture is not only about food production, it's really about income generation at the same time, especially for the smallholders. However, I always ask myself as a social entrepreneur, how do we even explain carbonless to these farmers when they're hungry, when they're poor, when they don't have money to even start farming, or sometimes they don't even want to adopt this because it might entail another investment, right?
And one of the key area we are now looking at is energy storage, especially the utility scale energy storage. Because given that China has such a massive renewable development, in our observation, battery utility scale energy storage and or load following solution or smart IT applications, even green hydrogen, they are all essential technology for China to support this big massive renewable market.
Clearly there are occasions where there are market failures, there are gaps, particularly in information, skills. There are misperceptions about risk, about technology, which deter investment. And I think the point about revenue certainty is a reasonable one.
I'm really interested to hear more about energy storage tech, and especially as a property landlord and developer like us, we'd love to know about how we can take advantage of those applications for us and our customers, how we can learn more about that type of tech. And we're also actively looking for investments into sustainability tech and emerging tech in China in general. So I'd love to know if there's any good places to start researching.